My Govanen Melonin, and well met indeed. I'm Arachir Galajerthan, head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we continue on with the faction overview, and we come down now into our 6th from the end, Thranduil's Realm. Although they have since been renamed, I believe, and they're now simply called the Woodland Realm, and no longer are they Thranduil's Realm, because it's not his realm. So why should they be called it? Right, so playing as the elves then, the elves of Mirkwood. The size of your domain is relatively small, I'm afraid. You get... Oh, I'm sorry, I've turned off all of my things. J... No, wrong one. Control T? Yeah, there we are. So, you get Thranduil's Halls and you get Torfilin, which, if you are interested, is Sindarin for Arrow Forest. Yeah, there you are. A little bit of a info break for you. So only the 2 regions, and your armies are relatively small. In your capital, you of course got Thranduil himself, with Woodland Spearmen and Woodland Scouts, and in Torfilin, you have Prince Legolas, Woodland Scouts, and Woodland Spearmen. So few and far between in terms of size and army. Your capital is, of course, Thranduil's Halls, and he is your leader, and this is what he looks like. There he is. Do note that that is not unique to Thranduil. That image, that model design is available to anyone who is your faction leader. So if Legolas becomes your faction leader, this is what he will look like. But Thranduil himself has a bodyguard of Elven King's Guard. Now, that unit is only available if you reject the Elven Alliance. So, very rare unit indeed, and a very, very good unit. He's a solid general. Prince Legolas looks as Legolas should. No, he doesn't, because, don't worry why. That is Legolas. He looks like a standard general, I'm afraid. He does not have the unique Legolas look from the base game. And that is a captain. There is Captain Eruaran. Interesting name. Legolas has Hin-i Dawar. Eyes of the Forest is what that means in English. They are an absolutely outrageously powerful unit, and they are being significantly weakened in in the Rise of Gundabad, but for the moment they are still incredibly powerful, so we'll get onto those in the second half, of course, but Legolas is insanely powerful. Your unique bodyguards, that concludes, but your diplomat comes from the Woodland Caverns, so it comes from Thranduil's Halls, which is a unique building based off of Hobbit movie design. Rebel expansion is north or south. You can, if you wish, beat Erebor or the Misty Mountains to Witherboard, and then through to Onazanar, or you can head south through Emin nu Fuin and then down into Erun Thollen. The choices are yours. Then you pretty much run out of rebel regions. Enethauer might be free by the time you arrive there, but it may be unlikely, I'm afraid. Not Gundabad, Dol Guldur are quick to get to Enethauer normally, and the Anduin also try and chip away at it. So you've only got a few options before you're knocking on the doors of your neighbours. Starting with diplomacy, then you're allied to Dale, and you're allied to Dorwinion and Khazad-dûm. So you're not allied to Erebor, so if you wish to attack them, be my guest. You are not allied to the Anduin, so you can also attack them if you wish to. And in terms of war, you are only at war with the Shadow of Mirkwood at game start, and not the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. Now, the Misty Mountains have so many potential enemies, they normally leave you alone, so Dol Guldur is your main enemy, to be honest. Further afield, of course, Dorwinion is all the way down there, whom I believe you are also allied to. Yes, you are. And then, of course, you've got Lothlorien further south in the woods of Lothlorien. So those are your nearby people. Economy building the blacksmith. Well, of course, as of version 2.2, the elves have no restrictions and you can build castles and towns. So economy is nothing you'll ever have trouble with. Very few factions really ever do have trouble with, to be honest. Your blacksmith goes up, I believe, to the 4th tier, because you're not renowned smiths, but you are better than normal. So you get all the way up to Elven Plate, having gone through Elven Mail, full leather and partial leather. In terms of guilds, you get a Warriors Guild, which increases melee weapon bonus and then experience, as most of them do. You also have access to the Plant Preservation Building, the Gwaith I Erun Thin, which gives you a good building income and a population bonus of 0.5%. And then there is a Master Gwaith I Erun Thin Rim. You also get the Dance Guild, which gives just a one-off experience bonus to troops, as you can see there. There's no difference between the Great Dance and the Master Dance, I'm afraid. But it's just a small little overall bonusy guild. I'm I don't remember when that was really even added, but oh, it's from the base game. It's from 3rd Age. But anyway, so you get the dance guild, but it's a bit of a nothingy guild. You don't really have any other unique buildings, I'm afraid. You certainly don't have any one-offs that you can build or rebuild, for example. It's all pretty much, that's about it. So on to scripts then. Well, of course, starting off, garrison quarters is your first. If you wish to get garrison troops, you will need to build an armory. Then you can build the second tier, a militia armory, and this will give you garrison. Do note that as an elven nation, your garrison troops are small in number. I believe they get 80 men per battalion. And this is essentially because we don't really want the elves to have garrison troops. It flies against the fact that they should be low population and they shouldn't be overly militaristic. But we couldn't deny it we couldn't really stop it. And the whole point of the armory building was because if you felt that garrison troops were breaking the game and were not very good, you could simply then not build it, and then that option is there for you. You don't build it, you won't get garrison troops, you don't have to worry about garrison troops when defending. But then, given that then there is that choice for every garrison troop, we felt it was better to then give the elves, so you do get some. But we balanced that by making them a little less, making them a little fewer men per battalion. Sorry, I'm all over the place with words. Of course, the big script of Thranduil's Realm, and the only real one, is the alliance with Lothlorien. And this is exactly the same message for Lothlorien, so I might just refer to this when I come to do Lothlorien, who are one of the remaining 5. But essentially, at around turn 40, if you have allied with Lothlorien, the script will only trigger once you are allies with Lorien, and then turn 40 has passed. So if you ally with them early, nothing will happen till turn 40. If you ally with them late, then it will happen almost immediately. And you'll be presented with a messenger who says, basically, I come from Lothlorien, I bring news of great import to you, will you meet with me? You then are faced with the option of saying yes or no. If you say yes, then the script triggers and goes along. And if you say no, then part of the script still fires, but you don't have to then go through any more script messages, and you just get access to your elite unit, which in your case is the Elven King's Guard. So what happens is, regardless of whether or not you say yes or no, a big Mordor army will attack Thranduil's halls. Now, if you had said no to the messenger, you are given no warning of this attack, and you are not given any troops. So you just get a massive stack, hits you out of nowhere. Very devious on our part. Now, if you say yes to the messenger, then he warns you of this large army coming towards you, and he even offers aid from the woods of Lothlorien. And so you can say yes, and you get a sizable army plopped into Thranduil's halls, and you can fight off this large stack in quite a fun battle. Then, when that ends, I think you're tasked with sending your diplomat down to Lothlorien to have a grand council, and in the point of the council is to discuss further ties between the two elven nations, being that you are of similar kin. And then you send your diplomat down, you can say yes to the message again, and then you are quasi-united. You become a union between the two. So obviously relations between each other are boosted, and you gain access to a building which I might be able to show you, Sylvan Gathering. You gain access to this building, which gives you some troops from Lothlorien, namely the Gurthinen, Lorien Warders, Yavanna's Chosen, and Elbereth Guards. I think there might be a second tier of the building that just gives you more availability. Or am I making that up? No, I think I'm making that up. I think there is only the one tier. So you get the one tier of the building to train those troops. Now, the troops that you can train are ones that fill holes in your otherwise sound roster. So, for those that don't know, the basic premise between the two units from a gameplay perspective, the two factions, is that Thranduil is more aggressive, having higher attack and charge stats, but much lower defense and armor stats. Lothlorien is the reverse. So you gain some of Lothlorien's better defensive units to help you defend, and when you're playing as Lothlorien and you trigger the script and you say yes, you get some of the Woodland Realm's more aggressive units to assist, obviously, your aggression. So it's a nice little playoff. Now, if you reject the script, you can train Elven King's Guard, and they come out of Thranduil's halls, and if you make it all the way down there, Amun Lank, or Dol Guldur as it's called at the moment. So there we are, that's the script in a nutshell. It's a very, very, very basic little script where you fight a cool little battle against an enemy you might not have met yet, and then you get the option of training some of Lothlorien's troops for yourself, which is pretty cool. The Sylvan Alliance encampment building can be built in only a few locations, though. I don't know if it actually says in the building description. No, it doesn't, unfortunately, but it can only be built in a few locations. It can't be built everywhere, so you don't get full access to their roster, you just get partial access. But anyway, there we are, that's your script. Major map changes since the last version. Of course, the introduction of Enethauer and the introduction of Anazanar, but other than that, fairly simple. Pretty much the same as before. So, there we are. Tips and difficulty then. The challenge of the Woodland Realm campaign is obviously not each individual battle. You outclass everyone. You take longer to train your troops and they cost more than most nations, but you're so much better than them in terms of stats that often doesn't matter. The problem is that you take so long to kill factions like Dol Guldur, who are like cockroaches and just never seem to die, and you are just ground down by the sheer number of troops they can throw at you, that by the time you've defeated Dol Guldur, Mordor are normally then unstoppable, and your campaign becomes one of either, shall I slog this through, or do I just quit now and call it a day? So those are the options available to you, and this is what the map looks like when you turn off all of the UI, by the way. You can go the whole hog if you like, turn off the lock. Did you know you could do that? Scroll lock turns off the bottom one, J turns off the banners, and Control T turns off the names. Sorry, that's unrelated, but there we are. So, as I say, the challenge comes from being able to either deal with Mordor easily, i.e. the ring script, for example, or if you just absolutely blitz Dol Guldur somehow, then there's not too much challenge. But if you can't do that, the challenge of the campaign comes from the utter slog that is the campaign. And unfortunately, Medieval 2, no matter what we do, unless we go really drastic with the recruitment times, which some submods do, but they don't tend to be very popular, there's no way to deal with the late game stack spam. It is not possible. We would have to fundamentally change the way Mordor plays. For example, you never really see Dol Amroth or Imladris or Lindon or Lorien or the Thranduil's Realm as the AI. They never really stack spam, even when they have massive armies. My Ardenheim campaign, Ered Luin controlled almost all of Eriador, and yet they still didn't really have stack spam. Certain nations just don't do it because their units are costly and their units take a long time to train. But so in order to make Mordor not stack spam, as I say, we have to fundamentally change how they play, which goes completely in the face of how they are pictured in, of course, the lore, which we try our best to stick to. But we do change for gameplay reasons sometimes. Disclaimer. So there we are. So that's the Woodland Realm on the campaign map, and now we can jump over and see what they look like arrayed on the field, ready for battle. Welcome then to the battle map, and here we have the forces of the Woodland Realm arrayed before you, as I say. I've said arrayed twice. Looking at them very briefly, you can tell that they're very light on cavalry and they've got a lot of archers. And as we go through, you'll also note that they are just particularly strong in almost everything. So even their archers are pretty good when they use a sword when they have run out of arrows. So they're a very, very good infantry and archer nation, and light on the cavalry. So, starting us off and opening us up are the Woodland Spearmen. I don't know why they're opening us up, but looking very, very good with their very cool shields. Brown and green is very much the colour of the day for the Woodland Realm, and you'll note that as we go through. So, Woodland Spearmen, this is your entry-level unit, one of two units that you will be able to train straight away almost anywhere that you go once you get Elven Culture. And they have a 15 total offense. Very, very good. 7 attack, 5 charge. Remember that the Woodland Realm are more aggressive than the defensive Lorien troops, as you'll see when we cover Lorien. So, whilst they have an attack of 7, charge 5, defense 15, Lorien, for example, would be defense of 17, attack of 5, charge of 3, that kind of thing. But, very, very, very good. But they do cost 760, which is insane. They get a bonus against horses, camels, and wargs, and an extra bonus against the black mounts of the Ulairi, which are the horses that Kamul's Shadow Knights ride, and the Witch King and the Temple Knights of Mordor have. So those two specific units you get a bonus against. You're supported with Woodland Warriors, who are an axe and shield unit. They don't get a bonus against armor, but they're more aggressive. So less defense, more attack, same charge. This is the same pattern you see throughout the mod, where we often have a defensive and an aggressive variant of the same unit. It's very, very common. They have good morale response, They get bonuses in forest and snow, and they don't like desert. So no change in grassland, as most factions are. They don't like desert, as most factions don't like, but they do like forests and they do like winter. So good fighters all round. But the archer unit that you will use probably the most in your campaign, to be honest, depending on how long you play, and the unit you will certainly use most at the beginning, are the Woodland Scouts. And this is because this is your entry-level archer unit, and yet it has a 7 missile attack, which is incredible. Melee attack of 7 as well, and a charge of 3 means it's not losing out when, as I say, when it gets into combat. Its melee damage is the same as the spearman. Now, its defense is significantly less, as all archers are, primarily because it just doesn't have a shield. Otherwise, it's very similar stats, just slightly worse defense skill and no shield. Again, good morale response, 170 meter range, average accuracy, 20 missiles. A very good elven archer, a very good archer full stop, and certainly going to cause some havoc amongst your enemies. The earlier tier, though, you also get your Woodland Horse Archers. Unfortunately, quite a dull name, but there we are. Woodland Horse Archers do exactly what they say on the tin. They're Ronseal. Melee attack's quite good, though, at 9, which isn't too bad. They can form a shooting circle. Their missile attack of 7 as well means they are very, very deadly. A very solid Horse Archer, but of course the only one you do get. So you're not going to be competing with Canned in terms of Horse Archers or anything. Their secondary attack is irrelevant. I don't know why that's listed there. They don't actually have a secondary attack. Because their melee is 9, so that's an error. But 140 meter range, 30 missiles, high accuracy. A solid unit, very, very solid unit. A very good cavalry archer, rounding out the excellent early tier for the Woodland Realm. Coming into the second tier then, allow me to add the disclaimer as ever that this line here is where the barracks event is based on stats. Certain units may actually be available before, and some of these may even be after. But in terms of stats, this is where there is a clear break. So the next tier of unit, the next one up, are the Wardens. Another very good unit. Woodland Wardens are better in melee than their axe-wielding counterparts by 2 points, but they have a very similar defense of only, again, 2 points higher. Charge is the same, but they have a 12 attack javelin. A 12 attack stat javelin, so a really solid unit. They are considerably better in every aspect than the Woodland Warriors, and they cost only a couple of hundred more. Note that the Woodland Warriors' cost varies because they are mercenaries, and certain factions train them. But the Wardens are better in all regards, and certainly worth the extra couple of hundred. Their morale is even very good, so 1 better than the Warriors. So they should form the backbone of your army. They can hold the line as well as either of these at the front, with the benefit that they throw a few javelins before the enemy arrives, which is always good. You also then get your second archer, whom are the Woodland Sentinels. And the archer pattern works very much as you would with any nation. They just get better as you go up, really. Although I think the Sentinels actually come in here. Forgive me. I'm pretty sure they're in that group. Because they have a total defense of 14, which is significantly better than the Scouts. 5 points more is a big jump. Their missile attack is 2 points better, their melee is 3 points better, and their charge is 2 points better. They are completely better than the Scouts in all aspects for a mere 260 gold coins more. So again, a much better counterpart. Further range, 6 more missiles, high accuracy. Very, very good archers again. All Woodland Realm archers are good archers, and you'll find that even the Scouts get unbelievable kills. But as you creep up the line, it really starts to become ridiculous how good your archers are. You also then get at this tier the Elder Council. The Elder Council are a bit interesting because some people say they're incredible and others think they are easily the worst unit in the faction, and I don't really know why. But they're a spear and shield javelin unit with an 11 melee attack, so their melee is not as good as the Wardens who stand beneath them. Or it is the same, sorry. Their defense is 4 points more and their missile is 2 points more. Their charge is the same, so they are better overall in terms of stats than the Woodland Wardens for only 100 or so gold coins more, 140. But as I say, some don't think they're that great. They are effective against armour with the javelins, not with the spear. So do note that. So they get an AP javelin, which is pretty good. Of course, they get a bonus against mounts because they're spearmen. 65 meter range, 3 missiles, high accuracy. They only get a negative bonus in deserts. That should be written up there. Those numbers are in the wrong place. Again, an error, but don't worry about that. You also then get one of the best units of the Woodland realm, in my opinion, in terms of visuals. I think they look insanely good, and they are the Maithur I Thewar. Which, if you're wondering, means Woodland Warriors. Or quite literally, Warriors of the Forests. As in, it literally says out, Warriors of the Forests. But Woodland Warriors is often what they are coined as. Effective against armour, 13 attack with an 8 charge and a 16 defence makes these some of the best strike infantry that our game has. Theft. I wonder why it says that. Theft. Oh, to say how to say the TH. Anyway, ignore that, sorry. They're a really very solid unit. Again, for 1,100, which isn't that much. They're very, very good. Definitely, you want to be holding the line with the council, peppering the enemy with the sentinels, and then finishing them off with the Maithur I Thewar. So they're an excellent addition to the roster. Then we come to your elite tier, the units that many people like an awful lot because their design is taken completely from the Hobbit films, lifted in 100%. And here they are. The Heri Leng, it's not hair, sorry, it's Hir. Hiri Leng, Hirenech, and finally the Hir I Beng, which names just mean Lords of the Sword, Spear, and Bow. You'll note that Arachir has the same part, the Hir meaning Lord. Arachir, of course, just meaning High Lord, and Hir on its own meaning Lord. So anyway, Lords of the Sword, they're just solid swordmen. 18 attack is insanely good. Charge of 9 and a defense of 22. Is very, very good. They cost 1,300 though, so obviously quite expensive. That explanation of how to say it does not help in any way. And it's Lang, not Leng. Sorry, I was reading that wrong. They have excellent morale and it's locked, so they won't run away. They get a bonus against, again, the Black Mounts of the Olari, so they're good against the Temple Wards of Mordor and the Shadow Knights of Dol Guldur. Supporting them are the Hir en Ech Spearmen. 16 attack, which is very good for a spear. A 7 charge and a 28 total defense. So a 28 total defense. Making them incredibly elite. Or certainly up there with other elite units. 1,300 gold coins though, so they're relatively expensive. And again, locked morale, a bonus against all types of mounts. A very good unit indeed. And then you get your elite, trainable everywhere, Hir I Beng, the Lords of the Bow. Now, in future versions, these will be Legolas's bodyguard. But at the moment, of course, he has those absolute demons over there. These have a 13 melee attack, a 10 missile attack, a 6 charge bonus, and a 20 defense. Certainly contenders for best archers in the game. Set up there, of course, with any other elite elven unit. Again, locked morale, 210 meter range, 32 missiles, very high accuracy. 210 meter range is the second highest, surpassed by only 1 or 2 units, as we shall see in just a moment. And then, of course, you get Elder Pathfinders, your other cavalry unit. Elder Pathfinders are actually very good cavalry. 12 attack, 12 charge, 18 defense. They frighten enemy infantry, which is incredible, but they are restricted to Thranduil's Halls or Amunlank only, again reflecting the fact that the one thing you do not do is cavalry, having only some horse archers and then some incredibly rare Pathfinders. They have a cool spear though as well that they've used from the Elder Council. So a very good unit, and they only cost 900 as well, which is really very useful. So an excellent cavalry unit all round. Do note that they do not have a secondary weapon. It's the spear, and then it remains the spear. So there we are. So then we come to your Uber tier, which is populated by 2 units. Now in previous videos, the Hin Idaur would have been down here, or even down here in the middle. But now they are firmly up here, and if anything, they should be here maybe. I think to appreciate the gulf of stat difference. But of course, the reason they're here is because they are uber elite, and the one reason they are uber elite is because of the simple line here that says Silver Thorn Arrows. Pierces multiple targets. little did we realise how overpowered this would be. Well, we did. I implemented the Silverthorn arrow. I knew exactly how powerful it was, and I went with it anyway because I thought it was cool. Unfortunately, it turned out to be ridiculous. Their melee attack is only 12. Their defence is only 14. So compared with, for example, the Sentinels, who are close in tier to them, they've only got a couple of extra attack points in melee. Identical defence with 1 more armour but 1 less defence skill. Or the other way around, sorry, 1 less armour, 1 more defence skill. The charge bonus is 6 compared to the 5 of the Sentinels, so in terms of melee stats, they are just Woodland Sentinels. Their missile attack is 12, though, which, as you will note, is the highest of any unit in your roster, including your bodyguards and your Elven King's Guard. So the highest missile damage. I think they have the highest archer missile damage of any unit, bar the Noldorin Guard of Imladris. But what they have that the Noldorin do not is a 240 meter range, 20 missiles, and exceptional accuracy. Now, they only have 20 missiles because of the Silverthorn arrows. They get a bonus against the Black Mounts as well. Their morale is excellent, but not locked, and their morale response is good. So, taking away the Silverthorn arrows, they're an excellent archer, but they're not uber elite, because once they've run out of arrows, they're terrible. They just die really quite easily against other late-game units. But as we'll separate them off on their own, and we'll control them in a moment, and you'll see just how devastating they are. But supporting them are the Woodland... No, my mouths are all over the place. My words are all over the place. Elven King's Guard. The Elven King's Guard, again inspired by the Hobbit film, is inspired by the Gatekeepers, or I think they were called Gatekeeper unit, that you only see guarding Thranduil's halls. They're a really excellent unit. They are formidable archers, 11 missile damage, which is insane, 210 meters again, very high accuracy, 32 missiles, an excellent, excellent archer, but that buck doesn't stop there, and arguably the best unit you can get, including the Hinidawr, because their secondary weapon is an armor-piercing axe, which is why it's not listed there, because it only lists the primary weapon stats there, which is annoying. But their secondary weapon is AP, and it's 18 attack damage already, with a 26 defense. They are arguably one of the best units in the entire game when looked at as a whole. They are so good. So good. So for much of the game, Thranduil will be one of your best units. In fact, the best unit, second only, of course, to Legolas. Because it takes a long time to get that unit. And if you accept the Lothlorien alliance, you will never be able to train these. But then that's part of the reason why they are so powerful. You are eschewing 4 potential new units for 1 unit, which can only be trained in 2 places, and rarely at that. So it is a decision, especially if you don't play Lorien much, for example, and you want to see what their units look like. Finally, then, we have the Tuar Arainiur, which means High Elders of the Forest. And they are your bodyguard, and they're just excellent archers. 11 missile, 28 defense, 11 on the melee when they're done with the bows, 5 charge, 210 meter range again, exceptional accuracy, 32 missiles. An outstanding archer unit, and a solid sword wielder after that. They don't have a shield, but they do have a sword, so they're excellent archers, and they'll survive when you put them in melee as well. So there we are. That is the roster for the Woodland Realm. And now what we shall do, as I say, is take control of this unit and show you how absolutely devastating they really are. But we'll try and keep them protected for now. We'll try and guess what the AI is going to do. So we'll hand everything, as I say, over to the AI, turn all that off, and away we go. So, oh, wrong one, F7, there we are. So now we also get to play the game of guess who you think we might be up against next, as they all manoeuvre into position out in front of us. So they had a green border, of course. Remember, there are only now 5 nations left. There's an awful lot of grey going on the imagery in front of us, and some dark blue over there. Blue banners blazing in the breeze there. Who do you think it might be? We've spoken of them a great deal. They feature into your own roster, and it is, of course, the Elves of Lothlorien, marching solidly on there as our army manoeuvres into position to shut them down. Now, we should win this, I think, to be honest. Right, now it is raining, so the Silverthorn arrows won't be that good, so do bear that in mind. But let's just get them into position. Right. We have some simple Gurthenen charging towards us. They're thinking they're going to do some damage. Let's move in on the Gurthenen. Bearing down on us. And in fly the Silverthorn arrows. And down goes half the Gurthenen battalion. The Silverthorn arrow is body piercing. You can see the number of dead there from a single volley. Here we go. Here comes the second volley. Remember that these elves also have the highest range. They are the most accurate unit in the game. Their base attack stat is already 12 before you even factor in the fact that they essentially fire ballista shots. Now they do only get 20 missiles per unit. And once they get into melee, they're not very good at all. These Gurthenen will have an easy time taking down a lot of these Hinidawa. They will kill loads of them. So there's a call to suggest it's not that overpowered unless and until you finally fight a bridge battle. And then you will get ridiculous tallies in the region of your Hinidawa killing somewhere upward of 1,000 enemy units. I kid you not. They are so OP in bridge battles, and for that reason, in upcoming versions, the Hinidawa no longer have a body-piercing arrow, and instead their arrow now causes knockback. So it plows into the side of those units there. Also note, of course, it has a nice pretty custom animation, and it looks like silver flying through the air. It is entirely inspired by Battle of Middle-earth, and it is basically put in to really give the best arch unit in the game just something else. Another feature that just makes it really shine. And so that's the Silverthorn arrow, and that's the Woodland realm. So I do hope you've enjoyed this little overview. I do hope that it has given you some insight, some information. It makes you want to play as these nations, perchance. As the reds and greens take on the greys and blues. But essentially the same rosters. They have ridiculously similar rosters. That's why we then did the change to make one aggressive and one defensive. Because there was basically nothing separating them. I'm pretty sure they even have similar visuals until Hummingbird redid the entire Lothlorien design. So that they didn't just look like grey versions of the Woodland realm. But there we are. So that's it. We're down to the last 5 videos. Now, do note as well, special edition, it is, of course, going to be my birthday on the day you watch this episode, Friday the 5th of October. So, there's a little extra tidbit for you. And, of course, that means that this is the last video of this week, as I no longer have the ability to record, as I'm away for the weekend. And there will only be 3 videos next week as well. And then Gundabad will start. So those of you that enjoyed Lothlorien, I'm afraid it is going to go. Unfortunately, stopping the campaign to get rid of a grindy enemy had the unfortunate side effect that it basically meant I won the campaign off camera, which was just pointless. So it lost an awful lot. That was a very silly decision. But I was always just playing for time until Gundabad was ready. I'm not going to lie to you. So Gundabad will be coming soon, and the next top 10 video will be sword and board units, specifically sword and board. So they have to have a shield and they have to wield a sword or a non-armor piercing axe. So for example, units such as the Woodland warriors there. No, actually, no, sorry, I don't know why I said that. I'd already resolved it will literally just be sword and board. They have to have a sword and they have to have a shield. They can't have any other weapon like a javelin or a bow. So that will be the next top 10, because I needed a topic that had units from all walks of life. There was a lot of call to do top 10 archers, but of course that would just be top 10 elven units, and that would be incredibly dull. So we'll see where we go. But the top 10 will be way down the line. And anyway, there we are. That's it. That's all for now. So until we speak again, dear friends, Navhair Neden Pedimad Melunin, and farewell.